Look into my eyes, because in a minute we'll be talking to Leslie.
Thank you so much, Graham, for having me. So
Well,
it's
it's an
great.
absolute pleasure, sir. You will hear about a true mastermind of music in a minute, an amazing life story as well, and also about a record which is now going to be released into the UK, which is a tragedy that it's taken this long for that to happen with Leslie's wonderful supergroup. But we will discuss all of that after this little video from the beautiful people at Analog Trash.
Keep on, don't stop. Keep on, don't stop. Keep on, don't stop.
Leslie, how did the Mandoki Super Tribe, as it were, come together in the first place?
Graham, as it's much more interesting if I'm sharing with you and your listeners how the idea came. So
Yeah.
I was growing up behind the Iron Curtain. So Russian oppression, and I've been told that I'm never gonna see London in my life. I'm never gonna have a passport to travel. So I was, living in that kind of cage, and British prog rock was our soundtrack for freedom. For you know, and as I was 22, I realized that my father was right. On his deathbed, as I was 16, he said, "My son, the Iron Curtain is not for you. You gotta leave because I never want to have the feeling that my grandchildren have to leave censored papers. So you should leave and you should live your dreams and you should not dream your life." And so it took a while. I was 22, and my dear friend Gabo Chupo, the cartoonist, was also 22. And because we never got a passport, and we were both doing fine in Hungary, so I was playing in big clubs, and that's my prog rock was always been forbidden. I got caught by the police, so that was just repressions. So we escaped through a tunnel, and we touched down in the refugee camp, and the resettlement officer was asking me, "Okay, I understand, young boy, that you wanted to leave this Russian oppression. We can get that. But what the hell are you going to do now in a free West world?" And I said, "Okay, in a free world, I would like to um, found a band with Ian Anderson of Chattertal and Jack Bruce of Keane, and on the British side, and on the American side with Ali Mola and the Brucker Brothers and Mike Stern. And he said, wait a minute, these are the biggest superstars. So we're talking about 1975. They play in the soccer stadiums, and and I said, well, I have a musical idea to merge the British prog rock values, so the complex composition, sophisticated production, and really poetical, socially relevant lyrics with the flavor of the American fusion virtuosity, solistical virtuosity. And so the guy was looking at me, and I was, this guy is totally insane. And he was turning to Gabo Chipos, who was sitting next to me, and said, "Okay, your friend is total crazy, but what the hell are you going to do?" He said, "Well, I'm going to Hollywood, and I'm gonna find a studio with you. That's what I should do." Today, Gabor has 2 stars on the Hollywood Boulevard, one for Simpsons and one for Rugrats.
Yep.
So we just do what we promised to our fathers, so that we'll live our dreams and we don't dream our life. So the founding actually of Mandoki Soulmates was in my heart way before I could call Ian Anderson and Jack Bruce or Ali Molo.
Let's not kind of beat around the bush here. I mean, actually, when you say I escaped through a tunnel, it wasn't just I escaped through a tunnel. That was dangerous, right? That
They could
wasn't.
have killed me. They were
Yeah.
shouting at me. So sure.
Yeah.
So you were born and raised on the west side of the Iron Curtain. The east side was a kind of difficult, challenging place, as it was trying hard times, of course. And but we knew that our very personal longing for freedom, it means a lot to us.
You said it came from your father's dreams, etc. Did he always kind of believe that there would be this alternative future for you?
Yeah, he said. because he said that the situation with the mm, communists cannot go on. So this is just simply not never gonna work. The way I am, the way I, you know, with them. So he just was having a fear uh, to that his grandchildren he never gonna meet in his life because he was about to die in cancer. That they have to read censored papers. So that was the point, and he imagined a future for his son and for his grandchildren there with freedom. And he never been in England, but he had the vision of Great Britain, and and still probably you are so privileged in the UK that you never really uh, had to understand that the nations behind the Iron Curtain who are proudly part of the EU, they were totally against Brexit for selfish reason because they wanted to have Great Britain as a balance. They didn't want to join a German-led EU. They were joining an EU was co-led by Great Britain, and so they were for selfish reason. They were missing Great Britain very strongly, and so this Great Britain on mine type of uprise. What was that was a very strong influence on my life.
Yeah, we won't go into Brexit and things like that because we really want to talk about the music. But let's just say there's a lot of people in Britain that didn't understand Brexit, which is probably why we ended up where we are. So there we go. Now listen, the album's called A Memory of Our Future. What does that mean to you?
Our responsibility to our children and the next generation about what we're doing and about our wrongdoing, because 89, as the Iron Curtain was brought down by the Hungarians to Austria, and it was clear that takes maybe 2 or 3 weeks that the Berlin Wall are gonna fall. So that was paradise. So we could have built out of Europe the exceptional human paradise, and we were not doing this. So we have a huge responsibility, and this album is an answer on this trying, challenging times. And the album is an answer on this divided world, because the music is the greatest unifier. The album is an answer as the torch at the end of the dark tunnel. And the album is in a very classical understanding of prog rock, or British prog rock is very political in the sense that they're trying to draw a line to more. So this is a soundtrack of Free Mind, actually.
Let's talk about the term prog rock for a minute, because prog rock in the UK has had as many sort of negative connotations over the years as it has positive connotations. I mean, there was a sort of classic time when prog rock was very, very popular, and then it was kind of, sort of rebelled against with things like punk, etc. But what does prog mean to you? Because for me, and especially when I listen to this album as well, there's as many sort of I'd see as many references to some of the stuff that Miles Davis was putting, and great stuff from the jazz world and the elements of classical music as well as prog. There's not one genre defining this album at all, is there?
And thank you so much for saying this, because that's how we feel about it. So that we are trying to speak in very much our own musical language, which is indeed, that was the idea back then in the refugee camp. That's what I was saying. I would like to melt the British prog rock with American fusion, because I was missing in American fusion the sophistication of the British prog rock, and the composition and the production and the lyrical content. But then again, in the British prog rock, I was missing the virtuosity of the American jazz fusion, and so that was my clear goal, to melt these two directions, and a little pop but poetry was also a very, 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 very strong part of the whole concept, which is the Americans uh, now. If I read the uh, resonance, the reviews of this album, of course, everybody's writing also about the lyrics, but American jazz rock or jazz fusion was not giving us any great lyrical content at all. But British prog rock, absolutely. So a part of Frank Zappa, because his category on his own. And because he was so much Los Angeles man inside, but on inside he was teaching the Americans to enjoy British humor. So which is always for me as a Hungarian guy, as the first time I went to London, wow. I mean, you guys are so lucky to grow up with that mother language. I said, because the humor is identical to the Hungarians. There are only two nations in Europe they have that kind of ironic
Yeah,
sentiment.
we get sarcasm better than anybody. That's
Yeah,
certainly
yeah.
true.
This is the but this sarcasm is a very constructive political way to look at life.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Um, you got a black swan on the front. Obviously, a black swan is a quite a deep metaphor. Anyway, what were you bringing to the table in terms of the black swan? It's normally a political event or a life event that occurs and has a massive change, but isn't necessarily totally understood until the impact is a bit later. So, where's the reference point for that?
And Graham, that's exactly where we are at right now. In this, I think the black swan, as I was painting this, is the symbolic metaphor for a labyrinth of crisis and the compass is lost. And all these songs, Blood in the Water, there was Psychopedia, Big Quit, Hard Times Create Hard People, People Create Easy Times create easy people create hard times again. These are all these songs, like Memory of Our Future, like Enigma of Reason, We Stay Loud, are extremely political because the black swan needs to be white again. And I'm saying in our concerts, look at my bass drum. This is the black swan on it, till the end of the concert, it's going to be white again. The same goes, we are giving music now to a generation who has a very short attention span because this whole social media and cell phones created a world where we have very short attention span. So we are extending the attention span for this album to 80 minutes. And then I'm saying, if you see your world like the black swan is just arrived in this labyrinth of crisis and the compass is lost, then after 80 minutes of Mandoki Soulmates, you will see that the black swan is white again, because we are actually the torch at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, I think you said somewhere in the sort of notes around this album release, you sort of mentioned 1989 and the opportunity that should have arisen out of that. I mean, that 1989 was the year that President Reagan, God bless him, resigned from the White House, etc. What should have happened then? What didn't, and why have we ended up where we are now? Do you think?
Well, that's right in the song of Big Quit and Blood in the Water. The answer that that's why we have to stay loud is another song on the album, because um, Ronald Reagan said, standing at the Gate Brandenburg, uh, 3 years earlier, that Mr. Gorbachev, please open this gate and tear down this wall. And the most of the intellectuals, uh, including myself, were just putting a little smile on that on the face. But a million days later, as Mikhail Sergeyevich Gorbachev was visiting my studio, because he was coming to a Soulmates concert, and he was backstage, and as James Baker and as a formal secretary, and Henry Kissinger were awarding me for my musical work against the Berlin Wall and against the Iron Curtain. We discussed that, and this was a paradise. 1989, as the wall came down, and the Iron Curtain was destroyed by the Hungarians towards to Austria, and all of a sudden we could have truly united Europe, and united in sense of individual freedom and values, not in economical and issues. And so, I mean, in values of this classical British uh, parliamentarism, So we get from you guys and around the world so much, not only soccer and chess, and tennis, but a cultural influence and rock music. In as the Americans have said, the times before British invasion in the rock music and after British invasion. You know, uh, Great Britain is such a cultured nation and gave to the world more than any other in many ways, and we missed that time. So 89 we could have been a paradise from then on, and
Yeah.
look at where we are right now. And the black swan is truly here, because this is a multi crisis, not only one crisis. Even we have war in Europe, and we just don't find the answer. And war is definitely not the answer. And but we just we look at that, and the whole thing falls apart. And a memory of our future is about talking to ourselves in 20 years, and being responsible when our kids going to ask them, say, what the hell were you are doing, where you were rising up your voice, you were speaking up, speaking out loud, what are you doing, and
Yeah.
um, and so these are the things, what we have to refer to our songwriters, because we owe the people. Look, I mean, our audience was giving us a fortunate life. Now we owe them to be honest, to be authentic, and to create a musical torch to the end of the tunnel, and utopia for realists. So that's what we owe to the people, because their love of music, or their love of our music, is propelling our creativity. That's what creating our music, and so that we owe back to, this is payback time to the audience. That's why we created this album also analog, because it's the handwritten love letter to our audience, not a text message. This is just, this is more than that.
I was going to ask you about that. Was the decision to do this in analog not just a sort of an audio decision, but it was to do with the way that the world has, and this kind of digital revolution has kind of caused us to perhaps not think properly about human connection. And do you see sort of social media and the way the internet is as a kind of a blessing and a curse? Because just before we came on, you said to me, "Yeah, this really important point. This is the first release of yours that will be released in Britain," which sounds absolutely crazy. But has that partly been made more accessible now in the way, because of the way that the internet allows us to do these things? But at the same time, the internet is giving a voice to people that perhaps it shouldn't be giving a voice to. What's your relationship with the internet? What does it feel like to you?
Thank you for asking me, Graham, because it's a song on the album which gives you the full answer. Devil's Psychopadia. Social media is Devil's Psychopadia, because all of a sudden everything gets amplified in a wrong way. And
Yeah.
that's why we have this great divide. That's why things happening, but should not happen, because people got voice they should not have that naturally, and this amplifying the uh, crazy aspects of life uh, creates a devil's psychopadia, and raise our voice against it. Of course, it's just easy to use and you can reach your people, but this is in a way it's so artificial and so less human, and so it creates a gap between humans, because this everybody has this thing in the hand and instead of talking to each other. And actually, originally, as the whole idea of Facebook came up, I thought it's never gonna work, because I thought I was invited as an artist to together with Paulo Coelho, the famous literature Nobel Prize winner, to the World Economic Forum in Davos in Switzerland, and we both been asked what we do think about this idea, Facebook, and we both said no, it's never gonna work because the mankind has a different history. We just protect our privacy, we protect our way of life, and we do not share our weekend photos. I mean, we don't look at each other's vacation photographs and all this. And all of a sudden, everything turned out to be totally different. And this creates this gap, and this is just amplifying this actually very painful division about what we have. And actually, my generation, and we were talking about, like I was growing up strong behind the Iron Curtain, and that was uneasy, this is Russian oppression and the dictatorship. You get censored, you don't have a passport, you don't have any individual freedom. But one thing was different. If I was sitting down with a guy, and we were talking about, like let's say about philosophy, and about Immanuel Kant or Karl Marx or whatever, and let's say we were 180-degree different opinion. We were not enemies. We just were two guys had different opinions, and we had a beer or a wine or a coffee or whatever, and we were talking and we learned from each other, and maybe we moved a little bit, or we maybe didn't, but for sure we were not saying goodbye. Hey, we had a handshake or even embracing each other, but we didn't become enemies.
Oh, you're speaking my language so much. I mean, this is what I write about all day long on social media, which is that we've got to a point as human beings where we just don't seem to be able to have dialogue with each other. Everything's immediately over centralized. If I put something out there into the world, I'm kind of immediately making assumptions about you and what you're going to think about me, as opposed to let's not make assumptions. I'm not going to make assumptions. I'd like you to perhaps not make assumptions. I mean, for me, if we try and create a world that's better, where people are more properly inclusive, where we get on with each other more, etc., that starts by giving people time to actually say their piece and not just react to them all of the time, but actually just reflect. We don't give anybody time to reflect, and we certainly don't give enough respect to anybody else's opinion now. What's it matter?
You speak my mind. I mean, because we shortened our attention span. Yeah, and so you don't give time because you are sitting with it, and you go crazy. So that's why you were speaking absolutely my mind, that you have to pay great attention to the someone who you're speaking to. And these talks are so important, and someone who is just marks you as a friend in your iPhone, is on your Facebook, is not a friend. We talk about something else, and that's why I wrote that song, Devil's Psychopadia, because this is all about that. You will find yourself in that song.
One of the younger players on this album, on one of the little video clips, said that it felt like community, it felt like church in a way, which in a way is a really great thing. I mean, it's something that we've lost, certainly in the UK in general, in a what is now becoming a quite humanistic society, etc. But for me, the great part of growing up within a church community and everything else was that sense of community. And I think the sense we're all trying to look for that community, right? Because giving each other that time, making time for each other, that's something so powerful about music, because that can start in that shared experience of making music together, but it's what then emanates out from that. People can feel that sense of community, and it draws people in to that, and because they want that experience. Do you believe that as well? That's
Absolutely,
what we all
absolutely.
want.
This is all about to have mutual values, shared values. That's what keeps us together. And music is the greatest unifier. We have to relearn to build bridges. And this hate and the politics. That's why we have wars in the meantime, because this is the end amplified hate, that you start to kill each other, and you're even celebrating this. Oh well, I mean, so I was just crazy. I mean, what the hell I mean, now and so we're not our fathers were hippies. I mean,
Yeah.
the let's make love, not war. Generation was our parents. So what is where is the teaching left? So this, and also
Uh,
where is in Eastern, where is the teaching left?
I was going to say, so going back to the beginning of your story where you said, you were sat there and you got this look of like, are you mad? I mean, these are some of the greatest musicians on the planet, and you're saying that I'm going to form a band with them. Ultimately, those people wanted to do it because they're human and they're seeking the same community. Every musician under the sun wants community, right? So, well, it's not mad.
Absolutely.
It's not mad. And actually, without having a real attack at the industry, the thing is, the industry has always created separation and division. And so many musicians that are out there have struggled because the industry saying you've got to separate yourself off, you've got to do this in whatever in order to be successful. I've got a great, I don't know whether you've ever read the diary of Steve Hogarth from Marillion, the singer.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. In that diary, I mean, he talks about how when he put his little band together, the H band together, and he got people he got the drummer from Texas and, Aziz Ibrahim, etc., who played with the Stone Roses on guitar and etc. And he said, these people, their souls were being ripped apart by being in bands where they just had to do this. And it was like, will they be in my band? And they were like, would I ever? Because I want the freedom of being able to express myself outside of all of that expectation. So it's an obvious reason, sir, why you brought people together, because you had, as the title says, you had the soul, and you brought the soulmates together.
Yeah, but
Beautiful.
I was a lucky boy in one very special aspect, Graham. About 32 years ago, as we were just, like Jack Bruce and Ian Anderson, and all the Americans, we just got together for the first record. We said only one way it's gonna work. No secretary, no manager, no agent, no record label, no lawyers. Only we direct. No one else. Just muso to muso. And all the rest of it, the industry, just out of it. Just us. And all
you
of the
know
sudden,
why? And you know why? Because those people are gatekeepers a lot of the time, and they don't
yeah,
like it. They don't like it. I can tell you, I've had great conversations with some artists who have wanted to come and do this podcast, right? Because they've listened and they've gone, you ask great questions, and I want to be part of that kind of conversation, etc. And we've had a great conversation off air, and then their PR person's gone, not on your Nelly. And it's like, you don't control people, except they do, you know. So you did the absolute right thing by doing that, because as soon as the egos often, sorry, anyone that is a PR person or manager that's listening, but the egos so often land with the people who think that they control the egos. Those people that are musicians that are out there that want to play and have the passion and whatever, they don't have those egos. They actually want to put no.
Because even stronger, give you even a higher course. Here is everybody a band leader, and the leaders here is everybody's alpha. So on the paper, it's never gonna work, you know. But it works perfectly because we never ever had in these 32 years one single moment where it was some ego-driven thing. Because everybody was loving it, you know, it was serving the music. You know, it's just no ego games at all. Everybody loves, and that's why we're doing it.
It's an absolute beautiful thing. We should just remind people at this point that this album is called A Memory of Our Future, Mandoki Soulmates. And it's available on a beautiful limited edition vinyl as well, isn't it?
Sure.
People do want to go and spend proper money on it rather than just listen to it on the box thing in the corner of the room, which you can do as well. But if you'd rather buy the proper vinyl, that would be marvelous, because you know, every little helps, as Tesco say. I'd like to know, you've played with some great people, and you know, over the years, if you look at your roster of people, we won't go into all of that now, but you've played with some great people. I really don't mind if I sit this one out. But is there somebody you haven't managed to get onto an album yet that you would love to?
Honestly, whomever I ask always joined us, and no
There
one
you
left the
go.
band. Part of that, some of us are very sadly passed away and joined in heaven now, Jimi Hendrix band. But part of that tragical moments, like for Jack Bruce and Greg Lake and John Lord and Michael Brecker, we are absolutely fine. And whoever, you know, we had such a great also Brits, like I mean, it's different generations as well, you know, because we had even 3 songs written by Nick Kershaw when he performed and played on some of the records, and he what a wonderful musician, or mature, and also, like, sadly, our founding member Jack Bruce passed away, and I was at the late night after the funeral. We just had a couple of beers, and his pub where he was always going, and then my phone was ringing, and it was Quincy Jones, late Quincy Jones. I said, Leslie, I'll now you're missing your bass player, so don't fly home. Come over to New York City, and I'm going to introduce you Richard Bona. You know, that's the same as sadly John Lord was passing away, and then Corey Henry got introduced by Quincy Jones to us. He was only 27, so we were on tour, and we played in Paris in Olympia as he turned 30, and he already had 3 Grammys. So we have, you know, different generations in the band, and different walks of music, and this is uniting it, the mutual values, and because we all would like to give to our audience this compass out of this labyrinth of crisis where we are musically. That's to build the bridges, and yes, then is a church of humanity.
That's a beautiful thing. Well, now listen, if there's ever anyone else you need to get hold of for the next album, because that's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Just give me a call and we'll have a chat, because I've got
All right.
all right. we've had a fair few people through the door, and there may be some young talent that I can recommend to you. All
No,
right? So that
fine. A young talent's always welcome.
that
Because
that
they're
would be
future.
that would be you know, it would always happily have that conversation. And folks, this has been wonderful, Leslie Mandoki. We could speak for hours, and ultimately, you know, you do need to go and check out the whole of his historic story as well as to how this all started. We just wouldn't have the time here right now to do it justice, but I hope you do find out. There is like a book that accompanies this as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
So go and buy that as well, because then you get more of the gist of the whole story as well. You see what I'm doing? Good sales job for you.
Thank you, Graham. Thank you so much.
It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. So I hope we put a little bit of the world to rights today. If this has struck a chord with you, do go and check out the album, folks. It's an album that's quite challenging in a lot of ways, but it's an album about resilience, which is something that we all need today in order to kind of survive the times that we're living in now. And I hope that in listening to it, it encourages you and gives you some strength. Would you say that's a fair thing that you would like to see people achieve out of listening to this album?
Graham, you speak always my mind through the whole time you talk. We are really soul brothers in many ways. So we share values. So thank you so much for putting in these words, because it's truly absolutely right smack on.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, the wonderful Leslie Mandoki. If you've enjoyed this interview, then please do share it with other people so that they can now go and experience the wonders of the album for themselves. We'll be back soon with more of my music. Until then, look after yourselves out there. And remember, as we talked about on here, don't just, be suspicious of each other anymore. Be open to listening and